personally like to actually pick the leaves off of the tree instead of waiting them to fall, because I think, with my own personal experience, when you wait for them to fall on the ground, they're just too dried out to press, and they seem to crackle a bit and not press very well. So if you pick them from the tree, then there's still some moisture in it, and they will press much easier. So I like to use a traditional wood and screw press. As you can see, mine is pretty big. I have 3 of these, and you can actually make these yourself and cut them down to the size that you need. Everything that you would need would be at your local Lowe's or Home Depot or hardware store. And there's tons of tutorials on YouTube on how to make these. So before adding more leaves to the press, I'm going to check on some leaves that I pressed about a week and a half ago. And it seems like they're pressing pretty good. Seems like they have dried out quite a bit. It doesn't seem like there's any more moisture in there. This one was a little dry when I put it in the press, and so that's why you see those cracks there. But for the most part, it's held together quite well. Let's look at some more. Okay, so here are some more. They're looking pretty good. And sometimes with leaves, you won't ever get them completely flat. And that's just how it goes sometimes. This is still usable. I still think it looks really cool. And what I like to do is press the stems separately and place them, the front leaf down first, and then lay the material on top. But these turned out pretty good. They're drying pretty well. They sound pretty dry, so that's good. Let's see if there's any more. Here's some more pressed leaves, and as you can see, I have quite a bit of layers in the wood press. We are not going to go through every one of them, but I just wanted to show you this last one. And this one has more of a variety in it. And just to let you know that leaves do fade a little bit, and that is a natural process. I personally do not color enhance my art. That one's really pretty. This one retained its color pretty well. So to get started, all you're going to need is some cardboard, roll of paper towels, scissors, your fresh leaves, and some printer paper. Now that's where things can be different for other people. I personally like to use printer paper and cardstock. I'm not going to use cardstock for this project. I only use cardstock and printer paper together when there is a high water content in the foliage that you're going to be pressing. So leaves tend to have a lower water content than, say, like roses. So I'm just going to use, for this project, printer paper. And I'll show you how to layer all that right now. And as far as leaves goes, they can be stored in a Ziploc baggie for a couple of days. If you go out and pick and you don't have time to press, they do stay good in a airtight baggie, and I wouldn't store them more than just a couple of days. They do well in mason jars too, but again, I would want to get them in the press within 2 days. Okay, so now that you've rubbed off all the dirt, look how dirty these leaves were. Next, I cut off the stems. And the reason why I do this is because sometimes stems are a little wonky, and then when you try to press them, they just won't press right. As you can see, I've laid some leaves down. They're almost ready to go on the press. Now, I personally like to lay the leaves down, face down. It's not a necessity, but that's just how I choose to do it. And the key thing is to not overlap them. Leave a little space between them. They don't have to be in any particular order. You can do them upside down if you want. Just as long as you keep a little space in between, it should be good. So next, I'll show you how I layer them, and we'll get ready to go into the press. One more thing, I did leave out how to actually start layering them. So as you can see, here's a piece of cardboard right here, and then you place 4 pieces depending on your press size. I use 4 pieces of printer paper down first, and then a layer of leaves next, and then next what we'll do is lay down. Sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand. I don't have a tripod. So next, we'll go ahead and put another piece of printer paper over the leaves. Just as so. And then you're going to put another piece of cardboard on top. Now, since we're doing layers, you can just put this cardboard on top of that, and then kind of press it down, and then repeat with some more printer paper, another piece of cardboard. Now, I'm not quite done, so I'm going to add another layer of printer paper. I still have to do the stems and a little bit more leaves, and then I'll show you how to put it in the press. This is the final layer of the leaves and stems. And with the stems, you just need to really try to make sure they're not overlapping each other, and they just need to be spaced out just a little bit. These are definitely more forgiving than leaves and flowers. And I do the same thing with some types of flowers also. I will cut the stems off and press them separately as well. One of the very last steps is labeling. And what you're want to do is label what you just pressed and the date. And as you can see, I have other things in the press dating all the way back from about 2 weeks ago. So typically I like to leave my things in for about 2 weeks, and then I check them. And most of the time they are usually done. Some things need to be in the press for longer, but 2 weeks is a good rule of thumb. So as you can see, I have a lot of layers, like I said before. The key to having a lot of layers is that make sure you use corrugated cardboard, because that serves as an airflow. So there's got to be some kind of airflow going through there while you're pressing. If you don't have corrugated cardboard, things tend to mold faster, especially if they have a high water content. Well, thank you for joining me today, and until the next tutorial, bye-bye.